Hello there everyone on the Sonic Show. I'm Tanner. Normally I'm around doing Let's Plays, but I thought, hey, I should branch out a bit. And I think the big reason for that is something that we haven't really covered much on the Sonic Show is the comics. The Archie comics that have been going on for a long time that I don't really think anyone on the show really cared about until recently. And I think first off we should just get into this series is called Sonicomics because it's a stupid pun that I thought, hey, it gets the job done. Recently, I started to read a bit of the Mega Man comic from Archie because I'm a big Mega Man fan and it's the only Mega Man thing coming out ever. So I started to read that and I really got into it. Then of course, the crossover happened with Sonic. And that was really good. In fact, it washed away any of the bad memories I had of reading the Archie comic because I did used to dislike it. I really disliked all the old stuff with the characters and the drama, and when they reset it to like the new stuff, I really got into it. So I've been reading basically everything from the World Reset. I've been reading a bit of the stuff from before, but since it's not canon anymore, I don't think I'll be bringing it up that much. We're just going off of all the new stuff, but we're actually not even talking about any of that today. For our first review of the Archie comics, we're going to be talking about the first 4 issues of Sonic Boom. Now, we've covered Sonic Boom a lot on this show. I mean, we've played the games, things. Because if I'm only 31% done, I'm gonna be sad. Can I just... We do commentaries on the TV show.
Oh my god, it's Tanner!
Oh my god!
It's,
Oh my god, Tanner, what's he doing
Tanner
here?
as a character!
He's got the hat and everything.
But does he have the mole?
But the comics is something that we haven't really even discussed aside from me offhand saying stuff in the podcasts and things. So I think it's very interesting though that out of all of the Boom media, the ones that we expected to be the worst became like the best. Because when I first heard about, okay, they're making a tie-in comic and they're making a tie-in TV show, I thought, oh boy, here we go. These are, being used to just promote the new game. But they actually ended up being so much better than the games. In fact, I think the comic, in general, is, I think, the best of the Sonic Boom media, just in terms of what they set out to do. And that is, they set out to take these characters, remold them into a mostly comedic environment. Because as we saw, the games definitely don't do that. And the TV show, while it's funny at times, it doesn't reach the same really, like, this gets funny. And in a, you can reread it over and over and pick up on new joke sense. So, I think, let us get into the first 4 issues of Sonic Boom, my individual reviews of each of them. Now, these will be packaged together in the future in a actual bundle. So if you want to get the graphic novel, I highly recommend that, or you can go out and buy them individually. It won't be much of a price difference, really, but here we go. Sonic Boom number 1 is called Getting a Little Bolder, part 1 of 1, which I think, that's the actual title, like, with ellipses and the in it, and I think that really sums up just the writing style of the Sonic Boom comics in general. They're very meta-humor-y, where they like to make fun of not only, like, comics in general, but specifically the Sonic and Archie action series comics. And so, the whole trend of, part 1 of 4, this is just part 1 of 1, which initially led me to believe that this series would be, like, sort of secluded like the TV show where the episodes don't have continuity. But as I was soon disproved, that the comic series does have a lot of continuity, extending storylines, but not in a complete sense, but in a small little detail sense, which is great. So this issue starts off with introducing each of the characters in a way that, like, if you don't know the Sonic and the gang, you're introduced to them, and it's easy to tell who's who. Way better than the TV show and game. Like, this is so much better at just introducing this new universe and not expecting you to know these characters. It totally just sets it out for you in a really nice way. And addresses their personality changes. Sonic being a little bolder, Tails being a little smarter, Knuckles being dumber, but still funny, and Amy being the girl, really, but the girly girl compared to Styx, who I think gets the best and closest to a proper introduction. It's still not a proper introduction, but it's close enough, and I think, we're introduced to this character in a way that you don't need to know everything about her because of the way that she acts out in the story, which again, I feel like it does a better job of establishing Styx's character than in the other media. So for sure, if you want to start off with Boom, I'd almost recommend the comics first. And it starts this running gag of their names and logos, which again is the whole meta humor, comic humor thing that goes on. This entire thing, the fourth wall is non-existent. Like, it is an abridged series, if you're into those. Like, it is all just making fun of the medium and of itself. And it's only strengthened by the art and the emotions, because that sort of humor can fall flat very easily. If you're not doing it right, it becomes kind of groan-worthy humor. But when it's done with good art and good emotions and good reactions, without getting too crazy, it becomes something beautiful, and it really, really does. I think that this is sort of the making fun of itself that Sonic's always kind of needed, and it's definitely a welcome change from the seriousness of the regular Sonic series and Rise of Lyric. Now, the story itself isn't the best. The story itself for issue 1 is not something that, it's not gonna make you say, wow, this has changed my life. No, it's just mostly to establish the characters and the universe and the tone. And that's the big thing, is it's just to establish how this is gonna work. And it does end with a cliffhanger, actually, which is surprising, because I thought it was gonna be secluded, like I said. But no, it is most definitely continued in the next issue. Sonic Boom number 2's title is Knuckle Duster, and it's a direct continuation of the last part. But it starts off exactly like the first issue, and then Sonic calls it out on that. And it's really funny, poking fun at the whole, oh, we're fighting Eggman again. Like the common trend in Sonic games and Sonic media, really. And I think it's funny that, they're finally pointing it out. Like, I'm sure they've done it before, but this is the first time where Sonic explicitly addresses the audience and is like, hey, we've done this before. And I think that's great. Again, that's the whole tone of the Sonic Boom universe, and it's especially apparent here. And so, spoilers for the last issue, but Knuckles ended up going to join Eggman because he's not feeling appreciated with the Sonic team. So, in this issue, it starts off with Knuckles putting the rest of Team Sonic into tiny cages. And this is where the art truly shines. Like, not only are, the emotions really good, but the way the characters are contained, if you will. There's never, just static shots of characters. They all have great, action lines and stuff, and when they're in these small cages, they don't look like they take up the whole cage, and it's great because you just get to see them squished in these tiny little places, and not only is it adorable, but it's just so well done. There's so great emotions. There's one gag that comes of this which just utterly floored me, where Sonic starts getting stir-crazy as he's being trapped in this cage, and you can slowly see him through his emotions and tiny text bubbles which slowly get bigger. You see him going like crazy, starting to repeat himself like, my feet aren't moving, I gotta go fast, my feet aren't moving. And again, this is like stuff you'd see in a Sonic Flash parody or something, where it's poking fun at, Sonic's wanting to go fast. But this is the real deal. And it's great. You get to see him go crazy, and when he finally gets out, he just explodes, and it's awesome. One thing that kind of confused me is that it ends up being that it was Knuckles' plan to capture them and then help them, and it was some weird, Like, I didn't exactly get what was going on with it was Knuckles' plan or it wasn't Knuckles' plan, you know? But that ended up being part of the humor, is that Knuckles sort of, his plan to pretend to be smart and good ended up being not, but it ended up being good. Like, it was this back and forth sort of thing, and it just, that's where part of the humor came from. It wasn't, you know, necessarily the best joke to end up on, but it definitely was. It was definitely pretty good. Not as good as the first issue in my eyes, in terms of the grand scheme of things, but still worth it alone for just seeing Sonic go crazy, stuck in a tiny cage. Like, it is one of the funniest things I've read in a long time. Sonic Boom issue 3 is titled Hammer Spaced, which is a funny play on the idea of hammer space in anime and video games, you know, where characters put items when they don't necessarily have pockets, or Link with his weapons, where does he put them all? That's the idea of hammer space. And so it's nice to finally get, you know, some acknowledgement of that, but not really. It doesn't actually come up with, like, where does Amy put her hammer, which is a sad missed opportunity in my eyes. But instead, we get a good issue of Amy losing her hammer, which you can actually see in the last issue. Again, these small things of continuity. You know, she just offhandedly loses her hammer. It doesn't necessarily connect the full storylines, which is great. And this features the first amazing 2-page spread of, like, unique panels, where it's not necessarily just regular panels. It's like completely uniquely arranged, almost like a 2-page art piece, where you can read it non-linearly but linearly. It has to be seen to be believed, and thankfully, because it's one of the preview pages, which is all I'm showing for any sort of copyright reasons and stuff. These are the publicly available pages. Please go out and read the comics if you want to read more. You can see, like, it can be read many different ways, and while this one's not as amazing as the later one, which we'll be talking about in the next issue, it's still really cool, and it shows, like, the freedom the writers have to go crazy and have fun with this comic, and I definitely look forward to more. I need to see more of these crazy cool pages. Sadly, this issue has Amy trying out a whole bunch of weapons, but they don't do anything amazing with it. You know, it could have been, there could have been a lot more, but it ends up, you know, it's a good issue. It doesn't do anything amazing, but it's good. We get a lot of Orbot and Cubot, though, which I will always take. I love Orbot and Cubot. They are, without a doubt, my favorite of Eggman's companions, and in this, it's kind of weird, because Cubot starts talking to himself, which, you know, you can see there's a lot of comedic potential there, but he starts talking about the fact that he is a comedic relief in a mainly comedic series, and it gets kind of deep. And, you know, and, like, yeah, then he does bring up, he brings up all the different older Eggman henchmen, even the ones from Sonic Underground, which is like, oh, nobody remembers them. But the fact that he gets so surprisingly deep is what makes it hilarious, and I love it. I'm so happy Orbot and Cubot are in, like, all the main canons currently, because they are some of my favorite characters, and this is another example of where they can just have fun with it. But, you know, nothing amazing, but nothing wrong with this issue. It's still a good one. Sonic Boom number 3, Hammer Spaced. Special mention, though, goes out to the fact that they mention in the off panel Shadow's Hawaiian shirt. Well, not Shadow's, they just mention a Hawaiian shirt. But anyone who's been in the Sonic fan base, you know, looking at rumors, keeps hearing all these things about, oh yeah, Shadow's gonna have a red Hawaiian t-shirt. And that was just a huge running joke for a long time, and the fact that they're bringing it up in Sonic Boom, the comic here, is great. It shows that Archie's writers obviously have their feet deep within the fan base. Like, it's not just they're not just doing it because they're told to. You can tell that, like, Ian Flynn and the rest of the people working on it, that they are Sonic fans, and they're doing as much as they can without crossing any, you know, legal lines or whatever. Definitely really good. Finally, we have Sonic Boom number 4, Sticks and Stones, an issue that mostly focuses on Sticks, which is good, because she never, for being Sonic Boom's breakout debut character, she really doesn't get much attention now, does she? And it's great. The issue's really good because it shows more of why I like sticks and why I can see people not liking sticks, if that makes sense. But it's about sticks having a magical rock that can destroy everything. It's a little strange, because on the one hand you have Styx is a conspiracy theorist in science, but on the other hand you have her believing about an ancient rock passed down that can destroy the world. But I guess that's where the humor comes from, and a lot of it is really just character interaction, which is good. The story itself in this issue is nothing spectacular, but seeing just the characters react to each other with, again, some of the best facial expressions I've seen in a long time is wonderful. One really good gag that I think only the truest of Archie fans would know about is they bring back the yellow boxes, and if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And they play with these a lot. Like, I'm talking, it gets really meta with the yellow boxes saying to go back to issues. But because there's no fourth wall, Sonic just says, oh yeah, read about that in the first issue. And then the boxes get mad at him. And it really shows that this is definitely the Deadpool of Sonic, if you will. It's very crazy. And it only gets crazier once you get to the other 2-page unique art spread, which blew my mind when I looked at it. I'm not going to show it because, I don't want to get in trouble, but it has to be seen. It is like a James Bond style swirl of action that spirals inward, and it is amazing to look at. And definitely, for that thing alone, this issue is definitely worth it. Sadly, the final joke of the issue isn't that strong. Spoilers, it was just a regular rock. But I think they're gonna bring this back. And if not in Sonic Boom itself, but in the Worlds Unite, they're gonna bring back the fact that Styx has, luck of the goddess, where she can just throw a rock and have it destroy everything. I think something like that's gonna happen, but no, definitely, for the art again, and for just the character interaction, it's a great issue, and it does end with a cliffhanger onto issue 5, which I'm heavily looking forward to, because as I said, all these comics are really good, and they're not expensive. They're $4 each. Every time I pick one up just after school, it is a joy. They are just small little moments of happiness. You can definitely go back to it anytime and just read them over again. The art is wonderful. The stories are great. So all in all, should you read Sonic Boom 1-4, whether they're the individual issues or the eventual graphic novel, I say yes. If you are a Sonic fan, even if you dislike Boom, this is the best Boom has to offer in my eyes. I can see why people dislike the TV show. I can see why people dislike the games a lot. But no, this is definitely the Sonic Boom that is the most Sonic and also the most Boom. It is the funniest. It sets out to do what Boom always was set out to be, the best that it could. And I am looking forward to definitely more in the future. So, with that, that's it. That's my review of the first 4 issues of Sonic Boom. Leave some comments on your thoughts on the comics, whether you had some moments that you really liked that I didn't address, or maybe you didn't like these comics. Feel free to retort me from anything I say. I definitely have some opinions that are more, I don't know, biased towards one thing or another. The fact that the Archie dudes favorite my tweets when I say I'm going to buy comics, maybe I just love them too much for doing that. But no, thank you all for listening. If you have any issues, mostly arcs, give me arcs, but if you have an arc that you'd like me to read and do a review of, I'll definitely do that. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Ciao.